Good evening, everybody. It's Electrical Lessons, and I want to thank you for joining us. We are now going into the seventh season of the podcast, and tonight we have a special episode. It's going to be a two-part, and I'm going to have my other two co-hosts with me, Sara and Beck. And tonight we are doing an interview tonight on a male perspective on spirituality. We're going to be discussing a few things. Got some questions lined up, and see how it goes. I think it went really well, actually. And then the second part, we will be interviewing Cormac. So, and very excited, so I got the two co-hosts with me, as well as a couple of gentlemen. They're going to be the first two to be interviewed for this special segment that I'm doing on spirituality and wanting to see it from a male perspective. And then from there, we would like to see it discuss it from a female perspective other than our own.
Patrick, we're going to start with you.
If you would join us.
The questions.
And let us know how the episode goes. Drop some comments. Let us know.
I was asking Sara
if you have any suggestions or would you like to come on the show, please just let us know. We'd love to have you.
I can't wait for a second.
I'm sorry, Beck.
I'm in the house picking up stuff in my laundry room.
Okay.
But I'll be back after maybe, 3-4 minutes.
Yeah, I just think because I know you're blind and you're not able to see. So, all right. So, whenever you're ready, Patrick, if you want to, go through the questions.
Sure. Let me jump in here. So, right from the get-go, we're talking about the personal perspective of men. So today, you have it here that we have got a few topics to discuss. So if we go from the top, it's the new and old belief structures. Is that correct?
Right.
And then lifestyle changes in home, public, and work. So
for you,
and this is it.
Will be for you.
For me.
Yes, so we're going to be discussing the new and old structures of spiritual beliefs and practices, and the lifestyle changes, for you since you've I'm pretty sure you probably, I don't know if you were heavy religious to begin with in the beginning or if you've been spiritual, but there has been a change, even for me, for somebody who's been spiritual the whole life, there's been shifting for pretty much everybody. So, but for men though, it seems like the spirituality, it's kind of got it's a little bit different for men than it is for women. And I wanted to kind of get more of a, well, not just a better understanding, but, just kind of a better painted picture and also I think it would be really important too, because we have this whole masculine, defined feminine thing going on, the battle of the sexes. And I think this will be really enlightening. And
I think for a man
perspective.
For sure. I think for a man still to thrive in this society, he still has to essentially aim to be more or less traditional. Let's face it, because still days gone by, husband still had to go to work, still had to defend and provide. That hasn't changed. What has changed is the dual income, more women entering the workforce and contributing their side to the picture. So when we're discussing old and new structures, I could tell you that, yes, I grew up as a Catholic, but my religious beliefs haven't influenced the way I've lived my life because I've always lived a life of a person who essentially does good for others. So my moral values that I've lived by hasn't changed. My lifestyle in home and public and work also has not changed because I want to maintain that atmosphere of being the person that I am. I don't need to necessarily hide that. Do I discuss it? As far as spiritually goes, no. But I wouldn't discuss Catholicism or Hindu or anything else with them unless they decided they wanted to ask me, and then I would be open and honest. But I wouldn't go out of my way. I don't like the idea of convincing or converting. So
that's excellent.
I suppose in that regard, I allow people to have their path and not influence it, if at all possible.
Okay, excellent. Now with the dating and marriage, how it's changed, for you, with your, with getting on a spiritual aspect, and coming more into it, and especially being more active, say, in the spiritual community. Has there been a fluctuation of change or anything like that when it comes to dating and even marriage?
Well, actually, this one, absolutely. I would say previously in my life, for I would feel comfortable if they had a moral compass within them. I wasn't necessarily needing them to conform to the way I believe things, because I just didn't need that. But now I think as time goes on, I've recognized the beneficial nature of being someone with a similar vibration, being on the same wavelength, achieving a greater inner space. And so there's also all that fun stuff like sex magic. One day I want to get into that, but you have to, I think, be with the right person, or at least I would.
Yes, very much so. All right. So then when we talk about friends and family, it includes children, siblings. So has there been any like issues, separation? I mean, is there like any conflicts or anything like that?
Well, specifically right now in the world, I think we're at the crutch where a lot of problems are happening for a lot of reasons, that, like in relationships, right? So I think all relationships are currently being tested.
Now,
And I think some of that has to do with maybe the separation of vibrations even.
right. And have you noticed like say the more you got heavily more like you say involved in, like the spiritual, mystical, whatever community, have you noticed that just like a change like in how you maybe even see like your friends, your family, or like their actions? I mean, like have you had like has there been any struggle or like backlash with it, just like with different beliefs?
For sure. Well, I think that started 20 some years ago for me, because my awakening was not yesterday. And in that regard, I've walked as a black sheep for a long time.
Now with interacting with people, like say compared to oh you can Google. I mean, Google from like how you like dealing with people like before to say just now here in the last couple of years. Would you say that like your interactions different?
I would say I've certainly become far more selective, I think, about the people that I would let into my sphere of influence. I'm ever growing and changing that home castle, if that makes sense, and those that are in the vicinity of it, my safety net. As a man, we have to be in control of ourselves, right? So we can't necessarily let wild influences take us over.
I have a question on that for you as well. Is that solely online, or is that in person, or is that a combination of both?
With regards to which, if you could please.
With regards to who you're being selective with, is it all aspects of your life, or is it just in certain aspects, like your real life circle versus your friends of people that you make connections with online?
Wouldn't that depend on your growth? I mean, aren't you forever evolving? So wouldn't it depend on growth for him to choose?
Yeah,
Like,
which is why I asked it, because he said he was selective on who he let in his circle. So I wanted to know if that circle was his online circle, his group of friends in real life, or people that he meets at his daughter's school. Where are you being more selective?
I would say it would be in all areas of life. I think that there's more leeway, if you will, with the online world, in that it's well, for those of us that can feel energies and things, it's a little bit different, but there's still some distance that you can have between them. As you go out, for example, into a mall or an amusement park, there's no getting away from that, right? So I live in a smaller town. I live a smaller life. I have less individuals in my circle naturally, but they're also ones that I've had my entire life. So in that regard, they're very strong relationships. But I haven't made any attempts to necessarily go out and make new relationships. I think sometimes they more come when they need them, or when they need me.
Okay, I can get that.
Okay. Now, like psychological and physical changes or influences. Has there been any like some problems, changes, growth, and I mean just any of that when it comes to just on your path of being spiritual and becoming more active in certain areas of within when you start mixing in like mystical stuff and the more occult stuff with your spiritual beliefs. Has there been any psychological or physical changes or influences?
It's a very interesting question. I want to say actually yes, perhaps. So I experienced an injury that I'm recovering from. And the unfortunate side of downtime is, what do you do with that time? Some people might play video games, do crosswords, read books, watch movies. I probably did a bunch of those. But then, just like other times in my life, I went inwards as well. So the more times you go in, I believe the greater your knowledge and experience of that becomes. And so perhaps it was having that downtime, like a pleasant side effect of the injury, was that I took the time to do that.
Okay, excellent. Okay. Now your opinions on spirituality, the metaphysical practices, especially with it being more saturated within, you know, um, women and men being more being how did I worded that kind of word, didn't I? But men being unethical and manipulative in the community. Okay, I know that's going on. Okay, so have you noticed? I'm sure you've noticed in the mystical community and all that, like where a lot of men, use that to, prey on women. Now, in the same sense, I have seen it go the other way around as well. Um, so, so, uh, so yeah, basically, with men coming in that are unethical and manipulative in the community for selfish reasons and for devious purposes. So, like your opinion, your thoughts on that, like.
Men have been studying women since the beginning of time, and we still don't have all the answers. And I can tell you that being able to use your abilities to perhaps influence or manipulate would be an effect of the person's personality rather than the gifts themselves. I think that same person likely would have been manipulative without it. So in that way, I see many men on TikTok and other platforms who are gifted and are trying to express their gifts, but are actually more often overlooked and not perhaps given a fair shake, because perhaps the stigma or what the average person is looking for is the white witch, if you will.
Now, have you come across where like in the community where like somebody is like just where do like you just like right off you just like you've noticed that it's not very what's what we're looking for oh not necessarily organic, but where it's not honest, like they're it's or somebody like special around your like your circle that that who has been like basically using spirituality and mystical stuff like that to for narcissistic like
For
purposes.
personal gain, right?
I'm sorry, what?
Strictly for personal gain, right?
Well, for personal, yeah, and for just not being honest with it. Like for example, like there's like a lot of guys that they start learning to do tarot, or they start learning or pretend to do this and that, so then they can run through women, or where they can get or even extract money. I've seen that where even extract money from women or men, or take advantage of them. Have you witnessed any of that like up close, like and like any of your social circles online?
Can I put that in maybe a slightly different manner? I
Yes,
think you're
yes,
trying to say.
yes. Please go ahead, Sarah. Please.
I think you're trying to ask if he's observed predatory behaviors in men in the spiritual community. Is that right? Yeah.
I would say you have to say yes, because actually you'll experience the predatory behavior in every walk of life in every single circle. So it has to be yes. But I've absolutely seen people who quote unquote are putting on a fantastic show. And I've seen people who are truly trying to give back and do good and try to better the vibrations of the community. I must say overall, though, perhaps it's because of my lens of perception that I don't look for any of that, so I don't see it very often.
Right. Okay.
I might experience it more in females, for example, than males, maybe due to my gender.
Well, that makes sense.
Yes.
So
For
do
you,
you,
yes.
do
For
you
you,
think,
yes.
so do you feel that with either men or women that it is easier to be a predatory character and get away with it in the spiritual community?
Oh, for sure. That's the basis of religion, though. Everyone wants to believe in something. Everyone wants to feel good. They want to belong. They want to believe that there's better, right? It's part of our nature to want more than just us. And when things match up, right, you sort of follow into it. Sometimes you, like you said, you may want to do it for manipulation reasons. But
Yeah, I can get on board with that. I agree.
Okay.
Just saying.
All right. And then next question would be, so what are some things that you just don't agree with when it comes to like the spiritual community, spiritual beliefs, or in that area, like just something like just that just rubs you wrong, or that you just have a really hard time dealing with?
Bye back.
She might have got a customer.
Yeah, she probably did.
something that rubs me the wrong way in the community.
Or that you don't agree with, or something, or any type of spiritual mystical practices like you've come across and you just do not agree with at all, or don't like.
If you're having a difficulty with this, I can give you an example of one for myself if that would help.
Yeah, that'd be great.
I can tell you the hardest thing I experience in the community, believe it or not, is something maybe a little different than this. So I won't get too far into it, but actually, it's the unfortunate side of mental health disorders that are experienced by people in the community, because sometimes it is a fine line, other times it's right over the line, and no one will say something.
Oh, that's great. That's so great that you touched on that, because yes, that's actually we were going to discuss. That was the discussion of the video I was working on, Sarah, and then we switched it up. But yes, that's one of the topics I cannot wait to get into for our Tuesday discussion. Yes. Now, do you think that now this is kind of like a bonus question here. Do you think you've come across a lot of people with mental health issues in the community?
I would say that I see them daily. I say that, though, for two reasons. One, I'm actively working to discern who is and who is not, I suppose, based on my energy observations. And that's not to say that I'm labeling someone. I'm not the professional to make that diagnosis. However, I can discern, I believe, if their energies are in line with what would be a greater good situation, if you will, and those that might be a little over the red line. And I'm not talking walking the line, I'm talking over the line.
I can really respect you for saying that. Reason being, there is a lot of mental health issues within the spiritual community, and we have to be able to discern where they are.
Yeah, I remember when I first kind of came to that realization, and it was just like a real big, just like bam, and it was just, and it kind of made me do a step back, and then had to really, remind myself, it's out there in the world, so of course, when it comes to things that like people use as a fad, or it's like an up, whenever something gets real popular, everybody kind of flocks to it, but it was and then when I realized how easy they can, for being in the mystical spiritual community, just because of the topics and discussions and things like that, how it's easy for them to flood in and kind of make themselves at home, and yes, and having that discernment is very important, because
And sometimes I think they ignore their mental health
yes.
issues
And
and
I think
cross them out of
sometimes
spirituality.
or we overlook it, because I mean there's been times where where you the red little flags are there, but it was, and then it takes a moment for you to realize, wait a minute, oh, this person's not shuffling with the full deck, Um, yeah. So, all right, that's excellent. Okay, so now the
And it
last.
really can be quite hard because, like, let's be honest, right? Some of the most amazing, talented people that have come to this world were not always playing with a full deck.
Right.
And so, like, this is like, for me, I suppose, touchy in the way that I always want to be cautious. It's the same as trying to put everything to test. If you were to take all of us, a bunch of gifted people, throw them in front of a bunch of doctors, they're likely going to get a diagnosis, but they're looking for a diagnosis.
Right.
So if you are looking at it from a perspective of a higher vibrational nature, and you're able to see those side of things, then you as that doctor might be able to discern better, perhaps, oh no, this is a symptom of this, because sometimes they can be somewhat similar.
Right.
If you are a really powerful medium and you're able to perhaps see the spirits all the time, how much different is it than someone with schizophrenia who all the time hears voices?
Right.
Now, again, there's that big discernment. Now, I've personally gone and researched and listened to what people's descriptions of schizophrenia sound like. There's like some YouTube videos you can play. Personally, I don't relate. It didn't connect with me that that's how it sounds for me. And so it felt to me more like, nope, I don't think I'm writing on that line. Those type of things help me to gauge better how people might react.
Right.
Because if someone's telling me, oh, I'm hearing voices that say X, Y, Z, they tell me this, and all of these type of things, they don't really sound like great messages to begin with. So either you're messing around where you shouldn't be, or maybe there's something else.
Right.
Yeah, I can agree with that as well, but sometimes schizophrenic people aren't schizophrenic.
Right.
They are just diagnosed with schizophrenia. I've come across that several times as well.
And then I've also come across somebody who was very gifted, very, very gifted with different things, that was schizophrenic, and sometimes they would blur together, and one thing though I have noticed though is like large numbers of like depression, but that's a given because a lot of people they go through they've had a hard, like, it's been a hard life for most people, and so depression, but that doesn't really like concern me. Another thing is oh there's I didn't realize this until a couple of years in when I started doing readings on, because I went from doing it from offline to online, like so was the substance abuse and alcohol abuse. Now, and I didn't realize, and it's mostly a kind of combination of alcohol abuse and like a lot of pill abuse, but like how, and nothing against, nothing against addicts or anybody that has like addiction issues. I'm not one of those that look down on people, because it's just it is what it is. But people that did have really heavy addictions, and they're working as a reader, and where there's some people that seem to keep it in check, and then there was times when it was not in check, and it kind of and that's almost like the same line as like people with like mental illness or mental problems. Somebody with like heavy addiction, like alcohol, drugs, stuff like that, or starts to kind of bleed in, and and kind of start to affect others. But I didn't. But I didn't realize like the mass numbers of people that, like, for example, I was in a reading group, and one girl, she had to sober up before she can do any like mediumship work, so stuff like that. But I was kind of shocked at the number of people with addiction issues. But again, it's some things kind of go hand in hand when it comes to the mystical spiritual community.
Well, and if I may, this brings me back to the original side of society, right? So if early diagnosis of this stuff took place, right, then perhaps some of these people might not have turned to alcoholism and drug addiction,
right. Yes.
Because they would have had resources in the community that supported their growth rather than told them,
yep,
they were crazy and so on, right?
Right. Or they would have been able to, start hunting down their, their tribe or their, their soul family or their people, and wouldn't have felt, that need to fill in where they're, because a lot of times a lot of people are, there's a lot of lonely people. And when I say lonely, I mean, yeah, they may have people around them, family members, married children, but that loneliness of having like that, like-minded, being able to, have those conversations with somebody who understands and shares beliefs, that level of loneliness, that spiritual loneliness.
So
So,
here's the question: do you think spiritual gifts can lead to addiction and alcohol abuse?
oh, yeah, yes.
They can, yes, if you are a person who is gifted enough, then it can feel like hell at times. And if you don't have a way to deal with that, then you're living in hell. So that's why I'm a big fan of knowledge and protection. And I've spent a lot of time working even before all of this, just trying to grow as a human on this earth, trying to not be a snowflake, if you will, is something of a task these days.
I agree with you 100%, by the way.
I've seen it done where somebody comes into their gifts and then it's like they start to amplify and get stronger and it's they needed it for like a numbing, to help to cope. I've seen that quite a bit actually.
I see that a lot with like people that have the gift of like
Yes. Yep.
mediumship, or uh, what do I want to say, like foresight as well.
Yep. Yep.
Like
Foresight
having
and yep,
perception.
mediumship. Yeah. So I actually
I
coach
do
somebody
believe
through with theirs.
I believe strong empaths that also transmute would also have quite a bit of difficulty with that,
Yes,
because
I see it
they
well.
uniquely have that issue of bringing in quite a bit of negative.
I agree with you as well.
All right. So okay. So the last question was changes you would like to see.
So I'm actually a huge proponent of education, because here's one thing I've recognized is because I've been in this now 26 years in this path. I've realized how many times I've seen awakenings, like the groups, right? And you see, if you jump on Alien T or some of these other places, you can find people who are freshly awakened.
Oh yeah.
So there's this ever amount of freshly awakening people who are stumbling around, not understanding. I think there needs to be a safe repository of knowledge where people can go to learn about multidisciplinary situations, shamanism, blah 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 blah, but of vetted people in the manners in which are respective, like for example Native Canadian rituals, and they're shown and organized and displayed in the way in which they want them to be, so that a person can go learn basics about it, see if it reflects and mirrors, does it resonate, and then learn further, or if it doesn't, move on to one that does feel. And this is something Mel said earlier, reaching out to find your kin.
Yeah. That's amazing that you said that, and that's one of the reasons I do what I do, and I'm sure Sarah too, is because I remember going through awakenings like as a child, teenage years, and as I got into adult years, and it's always different, and it's always like just like a new burst of stuff, and when I started, doing readings online, like the newbies, like, people that were just waking up and coming in and it's like getting thrown into the deep end of it, and of course you got those who did seek out like mentors and guidance and somebody to help them with their past. And then there's those few that wanted to do it, just do it on their own and everything. And I'm a little old school when it comes to something like that. I think you very much so should have a mentor or a couple of them, because that gives you a different perspective and a more seasoned way of looking at things. But there should be people should go and learn the basics of things and understanding. I think that would help, because a lot of people are just kind of like all over the place, and a lot of times they don't know like if it's something that actually is, or if it's something that's new and made up with a lot of the new age stuff, and I think like just the basics of like traditional, not the new agey type stuff that comes in, but just like you said, like shamanism or tarot, just like just a better understanding, and also learning that sometimes concepts are just concepts, and not to run away with the concepts, because a lot of the concepts are just a way of being able to understand, but doesn't mean that that's exactly what it is. But that's one of the reasons. That's actually one of the things I want to talk with you, Sarah. I need to pull up our mentoring stuff. Um, so yeah, that's one of the biggest reasons me and Sarah were able to team up and do what we do is that. And yes, people do need to be seeking out people that are more vetted in the spiritual community, that actually knows and understands what they're doing, that's been doing it for a while, that's seasoned. Not somebody who's only been doing it for like 6 months or a year and think they know it all when they don't know anything, because they've never taken the time to get a mentor and learn traditionally themselves.
But how like life, how like life, and that is an unfortunate maybe problem that has occurred in our society, if I may, since the internet. So our society pre-internet was a little bit slower. We had to go to libraries, we had to read books, we had to read the Encyclopedia
Yep.
Britannicas, It was a very different style of life. But now, instant, let's go. I want my promotion, I want this, I know everything. And you know what? Here's the thing. They're partially right. Because in today's day and age, my phone can essentially look up the answer to anything in a matter of minutes.
Right.
So I can teach myself almost anything in a matter of days using my phone even.
Right.
So the value, but again, the information would have to be vetted. I'm not, I would say don't mess around with electricity. So I'm a Red Seal electrician. I can tell everyone, do not mess around with electricity. You'll burn your house down. So, or kill yourself, or blah, blah, blah. But so you have to be safe. But the point is, you don't become an electrician after 6 months. You don't become an electrician after 1 year. It's actually a process that you'll do your whole life. And it took me 6 years of education to gain the qualifications that I have. But I'll never know everything. And nor will we maybe on any subject.
Yeah, I could agree with you there. I think in this day of age, people often get taught by people that don't know, because they find them on TikTok, and then they find that they have more problems than they did, when they started their journey, because they're given misinformation. I mean, I love Alien T's lives, but they are not vetted, and there is a lot of misinformation that goes on them. On a regular level, not even on a spiritual level.
Oh, for sure. And that's part of like the incoming blasts of people, because again, you still have, you're so dead on, because you still have the full walk. You still have the people that come on who have a mental instability. You have those that come on that are gifted. You have those that want attention for no other reason. You have those that want to be disruptive. You'll have those that are hardcore on the topics on each side of the spectrum. And then there'll be those that just want to watch the world burn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes people will say and do all kinds of stuff just to do that, which is unfortunate, right? And the other part is, as people become so steadfast in their beliefs, they can perhaps become unyielding to other ideas, and that, and depending on wherever that person is, So for some people, maybe it's I can't get over that we're not focused on the Bible. The Bible's all there is. It's just Christianity and nothing else is right. If you can't get on past that in your mind to be open to other ideas, then you are essentially excluding yourself from truth.
Right.
100%.
I always tell people credentials are very important to have. Training is very important to have. Taking some type of course of learning is very important to have. So it's and things right now are kind of in a state of change, because I'll tell you right now, they're gonna start cutting down even a little bit more and more, and crunching down a little bit more and more on things when it comes to the spiritual and mystical community, and it's only a matter of time. So,
Yeah, I can agree with that.
all right. Well, let's see here. It's about 18 after. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pause it out here because we have a live to do. So thank you, Patrick. And then Cormac, if you don't mind, we'll do you can do you after the live.
You can finish for a minute longer because I need to smoke a cigarette.
Well, I mean, it's gonna take Cormac longer than a minute to do the questions.
Oh, so you finished them all with you finished all the questions with Patrick?
Yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop here.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it. And you guys have a good night, and we'll see you next round.